Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. This is your brother War making a video to feed the sheep, edify the lambs. Shalom to the Akim while Akwatim. They're going to be watching this video. Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. Brakathum. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. This one's going to be in response to the Elder GMS Chicago's video. And I'm gonna just make a few points and let the video play because everything he said pretty much is on point and speaks for itself. But like Esau's getting exposed out here. They're showing everyone's starting to see how hypocritical he is, right? And you know it's that time, right? Let me get Isaiah. Actually, let me start off with this Obadiah 1:3, and it says, "Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen; thou art greatly despised." So now you're gonna have people. You have people who are praying for Ukraine, and then you got people who are, I wouldn't say just not praying, but they see how these mans are, how these especially these Westerners be moving when something happens to their own race of people. Okay, and they're calling them out on it, and they're commenting on it, and you see it all across social media, right? All forums, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, right? And now you got this. I believe this is a East Indian woman, right? And you got people like these news stations calling them out, so everyone's really seeing it. Okay. Right, verse 3 says, "The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?" And you're starting to see that the Western isn't as big and bad as they claim to be when it comes to powers that are either the same level as them or even maybe stronger, right? They sitting back, they ain't doing much. They talking a lot, but they're not doing no action. Especially people defending Ukraine and online, everyone's talking a lot, but you don't see a lot of action. Let me get Isaiah, and then I'm gonna let the video play. We're seeing a lot of talking, but we ain't seeing no action. It's Isaiah 32:5. It says, "A vile person shall be no more called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful." They calling it how it is. Hashtag racist reported, right? Exposed. So you're getting exposed, man. Right? "For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against Yahweh, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and you'll cause the drink of the thirsty to fail." All the while they're trying to talk about Russia so bad, they're out here oppressing the children of Israel, right? Let me get Isaiah 47 just to add on to that topic, to that hashtag. It says, Isaiah 47:1, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit in the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." I'm going to start verse 3, jump to 3. "Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yet thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." Alright? Alright, so they're being uncovered now. Right? And everyone's starting to see it, so I'm going to let this play, and I'm going to close out the video.
Jeremiah 49:10. "But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not." Call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders, the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity. risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen that look like the heathen, and to the Aquas that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson. And this one is it's gonna pretty much speak for itself. I'm going to read a couple more scriptures and then just let her speak, and then read some scriptures at the end. So this is Habakkuk. I mean, if you're reading the title there, this is outright bias, blunt racism being displayed by Esau Edom in its media. All right, and the world is beginning to see that these pale people, these so-called self-proclaimed white people, are the problem in the earth. All right, this is Habakkuk 2, verse 12 and 13, and it reads, "Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and established a city by iniquity." You know, they're constantly going to other people's lands, taking it, setting up puppet governments, you know, dropping bombs on women and children, and then shine a spotlight when other people do it. You know, when they've done it more than anybody. You know, the amount of bombs and takeovers that have been staged by America through its proxy armies is you couldn't even fit it on one sheet of paper. All right. Verse 13. "Behold, is not Yahweh of hosts, that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves very vanity for very vanity." Jump into verse 16. "Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory." The memes and the comments that are being said about this are off the charts. That, man, you thought you had white guilt, you know, in America. It's really going to be bad after this. All right? But here we go.
In Ukraine, you've seen how the world is responding. Now let me show you how the world is covering this invasion. I'm talking about the media, especially Western channels. How are they covering Russia's invasion? With blatant racism. Let me say something at the outset. As journalists, we do not filter hardships and pain. We do not see caste, color, or gender. And we have stuck by this principle. When the Taliban stormed Kabul, we stood with Afghans. When Ethiopia attacked its own people, we questioned them. When unarmed black teenagers were gunned down in the US, we joined the outrage. Today we are doing the same. We see the plight of the Ukrainian people and we have reported on their hardships. But what about the Western media? They too are reporting on the crisis, on the war, on the refugees. But they do not see hardships. They only see race, the color of your skin, the color of your hair. Let me show you exhibit number 1. This exchange happened on the BBC, the so-called Guardian of Unbiased Reportage. Listen to how their panel describes the refugees from Ukraine.
It's really emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed.
People with blue eyes and blonde hair. That is why this.
You know, when you, from being out there talking to this devil, you talk to them long enough, and it's just gonna come out. They don't even mean to do it. Their racism just gonna come out.
So-called expert on the BBC is emotional, not because the people are homeless, not because their country is being invaded, but because their hair is blonde. On social media, a lot of people are defending the BBC. They say it's a guest, not their anchor. Let me take you back to September last year. Another guest was speaking on the very same channel, South Asian expert Christine Fair. She called out Pakistan's links with the Taliban. Do you remember what the BBC presenter did? She shut her down. She said it was violating the channel's unbiased coverage. So exposing terror links is a violation. Blatant racism and white supremacy is fine. Gold standard indeed. Now for exhibit number 2, NBC News from the US. Listen to this.
These are not refugees from Syria. These are Christians, they're white, they're very similar.
Very similar to us. How so? Because the Syrian refugees are Muslims, their skin is darker, their hair is not blonde. So Europe does not want them. And remember, this is not being said at some white supremacy cult. This is happening on live television. Exhibit number 3, CBS News, another American broadcaster. Their reporter is appalled by the war. Not because there is death and destruction, but because it is happening in Europe.
Like Iraq or Afghanistan, this is a relatively civilized, relatively European city where you wouldn't expect that or hope that it's going to happen.
Iraq and Afghanistan are uncivilized countries. Their people are uncultured. Their regimes are irresponsible. So they deserve war. They deserve hundreds of bombs and years of occupation. What about Ukraine? According to CBS, no. Ukraine does not deserve war or hardships because Ukraine is civilized. And now for the final exhibit. This one is not from the West. It is from Al Jazeera in Qatar. This anchor simply cannot comprehend the idea of European refugees.
What's compelling is just looking at them, the way they're dressed. These are prosperous, I'm looking to use the expression, these are prosperous middle-class people. These are not obviously refugees trying to get away from areas in the Middle East that are...
This is utterly and totally disgusting. Those people that are trying to get away from areas in the Middle East are areas that were fine before the self-proclaimed white man set his foot in it, before his policy began to be pushed. This is Psalms 36 and 2. For he flattereth himself in his own eyes, until his iniquity be found to be hateful. And so the world is seeing how hateful and how sick, the pale male these Edomites really are. Right? The truth is coming out on them. Right, and we need deliverance from them. This is the Apocrypha, the prayer of Azariah. Oh yeah, Revelation. Here's where we go. This is the end result. This is where we go. Revelation 17 and 16. And it reads, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And that's where we're headed. Those arrows are going to fly. Complete and total, utter destruction with fire, because the Western powers are falling apart. And though they be hateful toward anyone with melanin, especially the Israelites, they hate each other as well. I once heard someone say that if the so-called white man was to get rid of all the other people on the planet, then a war would break out between blondes, brunettes, and redheads. Alright, so with that, this man is quickly coming to an end. His whole power structure is going to be brought down, and Babylon the Great, which is America, is going to be completely annihilated and wiped off the face of the earth. And there's nothing that anybody can do about it. Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Awashai, Bahashem Bakar Wa Abba Babal, Kwam Yasharala Shalom.
Alright, with that I'm gonna say it. Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Awashai, and Shalom.